Faith and Failures Podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Faith and Failures. So, before we get started today, we do have a special guest, and we're going to do some talking. We've never done this before live, so let's just try to be understanding. What I want is kind of towards the end, if you have questions, write them down somewhere, and then I want to do kind of a live Q&A at the end, give our guest an opportunity to kind of answer. If you got any hard questions, don't ask them. We want all of these to be softballs, please. So if you don't know, you can go subscribe on YouTube. You can like and follow on Facebook, Instagram. But do me a favor. The like button is free. Just smash that like button. That helps the algorithm push this video out to other people as well. And that will help me out greatly. Also, any links below. If you order water on Amazon and you use my link, I get a cut of it. Or if you order anything off of Amazon, I'm an Amazon affiliate, helps the channel out in a small way, as well as you can hit the PayPal link that will let you go to a one-time donation, or you can choose to do it monthly. Just helps further the gospel, which is the mission and the vision here on Faith and Failures. So without further ado, this man right here, his name is Bill Fahrenbruck, and he is what did you say your title was?
A licensed professional counselor.
Okay, I didn't want to...
Supervisory status.
What does that mean?
That means I can supervise interns and people working towards licensure.
Let me make sure that audio is good. Hold on. Boom. Okay. I always check my audio because at one live stream, it was not working, so I check it from now on. All right, so now you, through a weird path, ended up at our church, and we got to know each other pretty well and found out you were a licensed... Sorry, my volume was up. A licensed therapist, and as soon as you said that, I started watching you.
I was watching you way before I said.
Oh, I figured you did. You had a few steps ahead of me, because like when I was at Southwest Oswego University, my major was psychology, and that kind of stuff really interests me. And so when you said that, I'm like, oh, finally. I've never met somebody who actually did it as a living. Like, may have had a degree, or they may have done this or that, or kind of spotty, but like you actually do it as a living. That's how you make your money. And so it's very intriguing to me, the capacity, being from a pastor's standpoint. I'm not a licensed counselor, but I do a lot of counseling. People come to me, they ask questions. You carry, well, I don't know how you do it, but it's hard for me sometimes to lay those burdens at the door as I come in, because people talk to you about some heavy stuff. And sometimes to help people, you have to kind of be a lot more compassionate to the normal person they're just talking to, because they're actually coming to you for answers. So now that being said, what was it as far as this field of work? What is it that drew you in and made you want to do that?
So my undergrad is not in anything to do with psychology or counseling. My undergrad is actually in juvenile probation and parole.
Really?
Yes. And when I was doing my hours for a probation officer, I realized that it wasn't the kids. A lot of times it was the direction of the parents and some of the stuff that they do. So I went back, and I was afforded the opportunity, actually, because I'm a veteran and the VA helped pay for my education. So I went back and got my master's degree. Oh. And that's when I decided. I first started off in marriage and family therapy, but the school I was going to, it wasn't meshing real well, so I switched schools and became a counselor. My dream was to own a private practice.
Yeah.
We owned one in Montana, my wife and I say we because she does all the bookwork and everything. Owned it in Montana for a while, and then from there I went and worked for the VA, moved up pretty fast. Didn't do counseling for probably 8 or 9 years. I was in management.
Now, when you say move up, like what does it look like in that field? When you say move up, what is that?
I went from working in a rehab center as an alcohol counselor to the assistant chief of the rehab center to being the director of the homeless programming for the VA.
Okay.
Covered about 5 states, 100,000 miles.
So it's not just like you're sitting down with somebody, like you were over departments and doing
departments.
Okay.
And then when we moved here, I started doing therapy again.
Okay. So you kind of, now you said you started off doing one thing, so you kind of came full circle back to what you originally started off with. So was that kind of your heart's desire when you broke into it? Was because that's families was kind of why you got into it? Or it just kind of fell that way?
It was, but when you have 5 children, sometimes the money is more important than the passion.
Yeah. I said this last Sunday. If you have 3 children or beyond, I don't know why.
Because someone told God that we need to have one more before I'm 30, and he gave me 2 before I was 30. So
twins.
yes.
So when you do counsel, okay, so now you're doing couples.
I do a variety of counseling, but what I enjoy more than anything is couples therapy.
Oh, so you don't just stick with couples, you do individual too?
I do some individual, but
Okay.
I prefer couples.
Okay. So when you are counseling, do you have a specific philosophy that you try to lead from or guide them through?
No.
No, just kind of whatever works?
The correct term is eclectic, which means I have training in multiple sources, and depending who comes in is what you use. So I'm trained in behavioral couple therapy, integrated couples therapy. It's called, what's the other one? Safe at Home, which is a domestic violence type thing.
Okay.
And then
Now, were these all wrapped into your masters, or did you have to specifically go back?
These are additional to that.
You've been to school a while.
I've been through school and trainings. That's the benefit is working for the VA, is they'll send you to all sorts of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I use what's called Prepare and Enrich, which is more of a Christian-based type thing. So when you come into my office, I meet you, we talk a little bit, get to know where you are, where you're from, and then we figure out which way to go forward.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is, believe it or not, is in couples therapy, I spend more time undoing what society and churches and what people quote as normal marriages than I do rebuilding.
So it's a lot of breaking down and tearing down old bad stuff, which is a lot of the problems.
You think
today.
about it. You come into a relationship, it's sort of like being a parent. There's no manual.
Yeah.
You do it from what you watch.
Yeah.
So if you come from a dysfunctional family, you function in a relationship dysfunctionally. So like with Lori and I come from a family that I've never seen my mom and dad fight. Worst thing I ever seen was my mom tell my dad, George, go to the bedroom. That was it. I have no idea what happened in the bedroom, but, when they came out, Dad was in a little different mood. But
couple black eyes.
so I had no idea how to disagree. And this is our second marriages.
Yeah.
So even with that, Lori's parents were completely different. Her mom was the traditional mom, housewife, all of that stuff. So when we came together, we had to work through things.
Yeah. So would it be safe to say that you probably pull from a lot of your experience of going through that?
I pull for a lot of experience. I've been married. I don't know if I ever. I've been married 28 years. Okay, let me rephrase it.
To her?
I've been in a marriage for 28 years to her.
Yeah.
I've been married to her for probably 18 of that 28, because the first 10 years was just trying to figure life out.
10 years of trying to figure it out. This boy's a slow learner.
Very hard-headed, and I can remember the day. It was actually, she pretty much said, you need help. I can do this by myself. I don't want to, but hey, I can.
Wow.
Remember, how many kids do I got?
5.
5. You know what child support on 5 kids is?
And I don't want to know. I knew what one was.
I know what it is. It's you need help. So honestly, I started going to therapy. She started going to therapy.
Yeah.
We went to couples therapy.
Now, was this before you were in the business?
No, I was in the business. I was a good faker, man. I was great.
I was about to say.
I was great. We'd be the couple that would fight all the way to church and then get out and hold hands, and I would smile and sit there and then get in the car and just start right back up again. Yeah, but it was, as soon as I figured it out, I honestly thought, this is what it's all about.
Now, when you say, let's stop there for a second. When you say, when I figured it out, to you, from your experience, what did that mean for y'all? Like, what was it that moment that pivoted y'all's relationship?
Let her in.
Cool. That's good.
Let her in. Let her know all of the junk, every bit of it. We're already fighting, so how worse can it get?
Yeah.
And as soon as I broke down every guard and let her in and realized that my whole job in this relationship is to do everything I can to elevate my wife to the woman that God wants her to be. And she does everything to elevate me to what God wants me to be. It's there.
You mean when you stop doing it for yourself, it begins to work?
That's the big thing. And that's, I know. And then I sat down and I thought, man, if I missed it, how many other veterans are missing it?
Yeah.
Then I went one step further. How many other guys are missing this?
All of them.
Because
all of us.
We're not the brightest people in the world.
No, we're very basic.
I know.
We're very hard to...
you brought that up. So one of my sayings is this: men are like dogs. Okay. We understand 2-step commands. Come, sit. Take out the garbage, put a bag in it, right?
Yeah.
Give me 3 or 4, I forget them. When I'm done, give me praise.
Yeah.
Give me, good job, Bill. Good job. Way to go. And if I'm really good, make me some cookies. I want a treat. That's it.
That's it, ladies. You can stop watching. Your problems are solved. But it sounds so basic and dumb, but it really, when a man feels like his woman appreciates what he's done, we'll move heaven and earth to do something again. We feed off that praise just like women feed off security.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have to have that in our lives. Like a woman who respects her man. That's why I love my wife so much. She's not home, but she knows all the stuff that I do because she'll come in and everything's done. And she knows I'm working full time and I'm, doing everything else with the church. And she comes in and she praises me constantly. She has woken me up in the middle of the night, or like later in the night. I've already fallen asleep and she'll scare me because she's like touching my arm. And I'm like, baby, she's like, I just love you so much. Well, I can't stay mad at that one, but you still woke me up.
That's what I said. My wife's the biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where it's annoying sometimes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
You're so supportive of me. Will you please stop?
It's like, just let me leave, okay? I know I got this. I know, one of those things. But
it's a terrible life. It's horrible. But yeah, because my first marriage, you probably can attest to this too, because you obviously, it didn't work out. And no shame to her, but when I wanted to start doing photography and stuff, like she told me I need to go get a real job. And now, most months I make twice of what my wife does. And she works a full-time job working at a college. Eat that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, do you have a real job then?
I guess not. I'm still playing. Oh, yeah, I have a real job. Yeah, I'm a pastor. But it's like, but I think the reason I am able to do what I do and keep going, and that's the thing, even times when it's dark, it's a low valley, you get worn out sometimes, but you have somebody in your corner saying you still can go on, you'll kill yourself and not actually feel it because you believe what they believe.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
There's days that I walk home and my phone will ring because I talk to people all day. So my phone will ring. It'll be one of my kids calling me. And Lori will answer the phone and say, Dad's out of words. Dad's not, Dad works. Call him on Thursday. So that, and she gets it.
Yeah.
So
it makes a big difference.
It does.
And anything, like when I was starting off heavier in photography, and I was really trying to, it was before I started the business with my mom actually in 2012, and Jesse and I got married in 2015. So fast forward 3 years, I transferred from the machinist job, got the same pay at the church I was working at, but then some people got disgruntled, they left, and when people stopped paying tithes, there's got to be cut somewhere. The pastor took a cut, but he's he's the one that should be getting paid the most from all the stuff that he does and has to carry. And so my pay got cut in half. And that was like 6 months after I left a job of benefits and took this job. Well, I had this gear from when I started my company in 2012, but I needed new stuff. It was outdated, things like that. And so she allowed me to use our personal funds to follow a dream that I had. And that was a big deal because she don't like spending money. She's what I call a tightwad, but she'll make that penny squeal. I'm the spender, she's the saver. But for her to allow me to do that and support me and not get upset because I'm spending the money that we're trying to save, because I had a vision and I knew if I really tried, I could do something with it. And then I believe, besides God, she's the number one reason that I was able to make it into what it is today, because she believes.
That's what I mean by elevating your spouse to the fullest potential.
Yeah. So what is some of the things that you do? Because, like, okay, so in my field, besides the preaching and stuff, and obviously y'all are reaping the benefits right now of the technology that I've been able to upgrade and keep on top of by live streaming and cameras and all the stuff we got set up in here and lights. So I stay on top of that. Preaching, you stay on top of messages. You know, you're trying to grow a church, you stay on top of kind of the future. Have to stay on top of in your, like, do you constantly go back to classes to stay?
Continuing education.
Oh, do you?
To have, I think it's 40 hours in Texas. Continue education every 2 years.
Oh, every 2 years? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm always going back to some class. Right now I'm trying to figure out if I want to go study some Gottman stuff or.
Now explain that. What does that mean?
Gottman is just another type of therapy. So there's that one, and then there's one called solution-focused therapy. And those are the two that I'm looking at.
I think we have a question. As a LPC, what would you say is the biggest challenge for people when tearing down spiritual strongholds developed over time by attitudes and behaviors learned from those who raised them?
They don't start with softball, do they?
No.
That's a fast pitch right out of the box. So the biggest thing is to get them to realize that they can change.
And that's a fact. If you can get that, that's a majority of the battle.
If you can get them to quit buying the lie that has been told for so many years, because when we're told something over and over and over, that's what we become.
Yeah.
So if you can get them to quit buying that, and I can say this because I forgot this is your podcast.
What does that mean?
Well, there's ethics in my profession. Okay. So I can't say, Pastor Stephen, you really need to start looking to see who God designed you to be as a man. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
I do an exercise with people of introduce yourself to me. Tell me who you are. And you can tell so much about someone when you do that in the first few lines. My name is Bill. I'm a counselor. I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah. If
it's all the stuff you do, that's not who you are. So then you got to tear down what you do and come back with who you are. And it's hard because in my last job in the VA, I moved up quick. I had some, not initial, but some recognition behind my name.
Mm-hmm.
So when I left the VA, I had to start over. And that was something I had to figure out, who am I?
Yeah.
And that was a hard chore.
I bet.
So if you can get them to realize who they are, that's the first step in tearing down the stronghold.
And you asked also, as pastor, like, to go hand in hand with what you're saying. Like, that definition can only come from God. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what people are searching for. They're trying to figure out. That's why all these young kids coming up are trying to be influencers. You ask them what they want to do. I've heard so many times, I want to be an influencer. What does that mean? I make stuff on TikTok, or I do stuff on, like, what does that even mean? Like,
my question is, who's your influence?
Exactly. And it's never God.
Right.
It's always, like you just said, it's what they're being fed, what they eat on is their nutrition.
See, my other secret is, and I want to share this real deep secret here, all right? This is how you become successful in counseling. I pray for my clients.
Yeah.
I will actually sit there in a session and stop. And they'll say, I'm still here. I just got to process something. Process something is, okay, God, what am I supposed to say? Okay, God, give me something to say. Because the wisdom that is downloaded is greater than what I can ever say.
Yeah. To yield yourself to the Spirit like that, it's a game changer. They said, fantastic answer. Thank you for that question. If anybody else has any questions, if you're joining us, feel free to comment, and we will try as we go. Or if you have a question directly for Bill, just comment. I can see it on the screen, and we will try our best to answer it. Well, he will.
So back to what you asked me.
Yeah.
I do continuing education. The other thing I do is I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And I listen to what other people are doing, because sometimes what other people are doing is not the best thing.
Right.
So you don't want to repeat it.
Yeah.
But any resources out there, and I mean, you don't have to be a counselor, to listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And you just get so much from them.
Yeah, if you, like, anything you intake will be what you can regurgitate or, recreate.
Always balance them against truth.
Yeah.
Because you can listen to a podcast and one person will say, well, this is permitted in marriage. And then you listen to the next one, they're like, no, that's not permitted.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you want to do that and the other one doesn't want. So
Yeah.
Let's bounce it off God's word and see what it says.
Always go back to Scripture, and you will remain true. So so your counseling process, okay, you kind of hint on it a little bit. So can you walk us through the process when you have a couple come in front of you, okay, and it's your first meeting, your first sit down. What do you do to kind of get a well-rounded assessment of what's going on in their relationship?
I actually do an intake. I have a standardized intake that I sit down and we talk about anything from your childhood to your education, alcohol, sex, abuse, everything.
Yeah.
And I ask the same question and both parties answer. And then at the end, the important thing is when you do marriage counseling, you always have to have one identified patient because otherwise, unless you're doing cash pay, otherwise the insurance won't pay.
Gotcha.
So at the end, you have to have a diagnosis. 90% of the time I use it's adjustment disorder with mixed anxiety and depression. Think of your relationship. You always have adjustment problems. You got anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And then a Z code, which basically means that, hey, they fight. So we do a basic assessment. All that does is give me an overview. And then as we start the process, people just naturally spill.
Yeah.
And that's when we start digging deeper. There's so much trauma in people's lives.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trauma that affects a relationship. There's a lot of depression that affects a relationship. When you're depressed, you don't want to hang out with anyone.
Yeah.
So we do that. And then when we proceed, we just keep on going and we get deeper and deeper.
So do people come in expecting like a one session fixer? Do you get that a lot?
I've had a couple that come in with a one session fixer.
Yeah. No, it doesn't work.
No, it's just one of my favorite. I got to admit, I am not, maybe I am, I don't know. I always say I'm not the traditional counselor. If you're coming to me and you want me to hold your hand and skip through the flowers and tell you everything's going to be okay, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
Right? I already told you I'm a combat vet. So I know how to be very straightforward, and so I'll ask straight up, what do you want me to do? What do you expect to walk out of here with? Because bottom line, I'm not going to make it better. I'm going to give you the tools to make it better.
Yeah.
So if you think you can do it in one session,
good luck to you.
Good luck.
Yeah, we were talking about, he told me that same thing, and he said that he's not trying to find what did you call it? You're trying to actually heal people. You're not trying to get job security.
That's right.
And I thought that was pretty cool because, I mean, there'll be people that will counsel people for 13 years on the same subject, same topic, same issues, and there's never any healing.
If I don't see progression in probably 8 sessions, I'm going to refer you on, and I can feel it a lot quicker. I try to get people in and out within 6 months. That's it.
So speaking of 6 months, all right, so let's say a couple comes in and they've been married for a while, like all of us do. You get married for a while, you get used to each other, you get complacent, you don't try as hard anymore, you're very comfortable with each other. Let's say this couple have become just excellent roommates. Maybe they're staying together for kids, or there's whatever legal reasons that they want the benefit, whatever, throw it out there. All right, they come in and they take this assessment and neither one of them think that they are the problem. How do you deal with that?
So I'm going to ask 3 questions before you even take an assessment.
Okay.
Because I'm very lucky. I don't have to see anyone. Right? So no, I don't.
It's no sweat off your back.
I don't mean to be mean. Okay.
Yeah.
I draw disability from the VA. I'm retired from the VA, so I do this because I love it.
Yeah.
Plus, I think my wife gets tired of me being home. But so when you come in,
that's why he's here tonight. Because she said to leave.
I ask 3 simple questions: how committed are you, and how willing are you to change? Scale 1 to 5. And if you don't score, 3's not an option anyway. 3's a.
You might as well.
Come on, commit to something.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do those 3 things, I'm not going to sit here every day with you.
Yeah. But now let's probe a little further. What if they're really wanting to make things work, but they really feel like it's the other person's fault? Like, say both of them think that. Have you ever had that before?
Yeah.
What do you do?
You can't, I want to use you, okay?
Oh, good.
You can't change Jesse.
Yeah. Jesse
can't change you. So what I'm going to ask you to do is look at what you can do to change yourself to encourage her to change.
Smart.
Because, there's little things. We'll go back to men being not the brightest people in the world. Do you send your wife text messages of flirtation? Do you flirt with your wife on text?
Only every hour. Yeah.
Okay.
No big deal.
Some of us don't realize to do that. So it's like, dude, you got to send your wife. When I started doing it, I had to program it in my phone. And at one point, no, I'm kidding.
To remind yourself?
Remind myself. And at one point, I actually Googled flirty text messages to send my wife.
But you're putting in the work.
And it changed everything.
Yeah.
So that's it's like, dude, you got to find the motivation.
I don't suggest Googling that these days because you might find something you should be looking at.
Yeah.
But that's fair. I was just wondering, like, because that's probably your worst case scenario where both of them think that the other person is a problem, but they want to work or they want the other person to work.
I've had sessions because I do stuff online.
Yeah.
Where I'll log in and there'll be somebody sitting there and I'll say, I thought this was a couple one. Well, I did too. So what are you going to do? You got an hour. It's going to cost you no matter if you sit here or not.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do?
That's tough. That's real tough. Because there's a lot of those out there.
And a lot of times what I do is I talk to the person that showed up about how to motivate them to get their wife to or spouse to come in the session.
It's tough. So I know you've had this and you probably had to navigate this, some high conflict. How do you approach dealing with a high conflict marriage relationship?
Usually comes out in the first session after the assessment.
Really?
When I say, tell me what's going on.
They start blaming each other.
Man, I call it the puke session.
Yeah. That's a good
because everything comes out and each person has their own perception of reality and everything like that. So once it gets all out there, then what we do is we start establishing the ground rules for communication.
Mm-hmm.
3 basic things I want every sentence that you communicate. I want a request, an emotion or feeling, why, and then desired outcome. You got your brain spinning. All right.
Yeah.
So here we go. I'm going to give you an example, real life example. Sorry, Lori. We're driving back from Montana and up there, Nebraska, I guess it was. And I'm doing like above the speed limit. We'll just say it like that. And the cruise control's on and it's raining and Lori looks over and past she'd look over and say, slow down. I say, yeah, right. And I went, slow down. So since we've done this and done the training on it and stuff, now she'll look over and she'll say, you know what, Bill, if you'd slow down, it'd give me less anxiety and I'd be more comfortable while you drive. I'd be much pleasant to drive with. It's much easier. I hear you.
Yeah.
My driving scares you. Great. I slow down so that you're not complaining and yelling at me.
Yeah.
And so we establish ground rules for communication. I've actually, every once in a while, I've just sat back and watched them fight because you learn so much from the dynamics of who's in control, who's the boss. And you can actually see people cower towards the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you watch their hands, you watch their vocals, all the paraverbals, I guess is what you call everything that goes into an argument. And, we go home and we have rules to fighting. Rule number 1, you cannot stand up and fight. Well, if I stand up, my wife's small. So if I stand up, it's intimidating. Oh yeah. Hey, great. I'm going to sit down. But yeah, you do that. But what a lot of people don't realize, and here's a tip for everyone, resolved conflicts increases intimacy. That's a good one. You get closer and closer, and when you're willing to allow yourself to be raw with your spouse, men, listen here. If you're willing to be raw with your spouse, they love it.
Yeah.
And the intimacy increases.
Which is what you want.
Now that there's 5 types of intimacy. Remember that.
Well, what are they? Tell us.
Okay. So you have intellectual intimacy. Can you sit down and have a deep conversation about something? Then you have spiritual intimacy. Are you on the same page spiritually? You'd be surprised at how many couples aren't on the same page spiritually.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have emotional intimacy. Can you share your raw feelings with each other? And then you have non-sexual physical touch intimacy. Okay, that's just the caressing the back, stuff like that. And then you have the intimacy that everyone drives for, is the sexual intimacy. And with that, if you get the other 4 going, man, the last one's great. So that's the 4 parts.
Getting those 4 going will lead you to the 5th, fellas.
It will. So,
just in case you were wondering, so what are some common marriage myths that you frequently run into?
So do you want the churchy answer, or do you want the other?
I want both of them. Or I want all of them.
Get them all. Well, number one, marriage is not 50-50.
Okay.
50-50, there's a line in the middle. Marriage isn't even 75-75. Marriage is 100%. You got to be 100% in on it, man.
Yeah.
And that goes back to giving everything you got to it. But I'm going to bounce a little bit. My spouse completes me. I love it. Lori completes me. No. Hopefully you're a complete person walking into a relationship. Otherwise, you're going to have nothing but turmoil.
And that's why there's so much trouble. Yeah, exactly.
It's my responsibility to make sure my spouse stays happy. And then you get into some of the good ones here. Next to God, my wife is the most important person in the relationship.
Now, why is that one a myth? Explain a little bit.
Next to God, I am the most important person in my relationship.
Now, why is that? Explain why it's backwards than what most people think.
And here's the reason. It's up to me to maintain my physical, mental, and spiritual health.
Mm-hmm.
If I maintain those, then I can overflow goodness into my wife.
Yeah.
So I am important so that I maintain myself in a state that I'm overflowing goodness. Okay. And if I'm doing that and Lori's doing that, then we're both overflowing goodness. We're both healthy. We're both happy. And then it creates, that's the me, okay? It's a me, we, us theory.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the me. We're happy and a full me. And then the we, which is Lori and I, are able to come together and overflow more.
Yeah.
And then when that overflows, then it's the us, which is our family.
So two complete people coming together as
one. Two complete people coming together as one. You got it. And
that
you
makes
can
a lot
only
more
do
sense.
that if you focus. When I say that, people are like, that's not right. No, it's like,
that's why you're doing it wrong, bro.
You're doing it wrong. And then here's the other one, all right? And
is this the one you said earlier?
This is the one I'm not supposed to.
Be ready.
The man is the head of the household, and the wife must submit to his authority. I love when I hear that. Because I think I told you this yesterday. The Bible does say that.
Yeah.
But what about the first verse in front of it or after it? You know, where it says that God made a companion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that you're together. And then it says, treat your wife like God treats the church.
Yeah.
Which means you give up everything.
Yeah.
That means the Harley that's in my garage, if my wife says, hey, Bill.
Now, hold on now.
You know what? It's gone. So, yeah, your wife will submit unconditionally if you're treating her like God treats the church.
Absolutely.
But that is one of the most abused lines in the Bible, I think.
Yeah.
So that is the other myth that...
I tried to use that one. It didn't work out too well.
It didn't work out too well.
But here's the thing. Just like, let's just use the basics of a workplace atmosphere. You have a boss that is a CEO or whatever. If he leads with integrity and you see him sacrificing in the trenches and working alongside of his subordinates, the people who are underneath him will serve just as hard as him, believe in the mission and the vision. And it's the same thing in marriage. Like, if I serve my wife like Jesus washed the feet of the disciples, like he did those things, he served people. That was his purpose, to give of himself, literally to the end, to give of himself. And that's how we're supposed to do for our wives. And then men try to tell women to submit to them, but they're not giving them anything to submit to.
No.
There's no reason to respect them. There's no reason to honor them or lift them, because
right.
All you're wanting is someone to bow down to you.
So now, to run that all the way out, if we have a discussion, let's say we want to build a new house and we talk about it and everything, and it's like, well, I do have final word, but that's after taking everything into consideration, not making a decision. You know, but if I went home and said, hey, Lori, we're building a house, say what?
No conversation, no nothing. Just, here's my foot, I'm putting it down, lady.
The house. And she'd say, hope you like your house.
So, see ya. I'm going to be here with my turtles.
Yeah. Now, that is a sure sign of love right there.
Yeah.
The turtle sanctuary.
How many you got now? 11?
Yes, 11. Somebody on post.
Lord's blessing.
Facebook, they said, oh, this is so cool. I said, yeah, we'll be setting up in Canton.
Hey, make some money.
But
that's good. That's good. So, what were those marriage myths one more time for the listeners?
Man is the head of the household.
Yeah.
And the wife must submit. That's good to go if you're elevating your wife the way God wants you to be.
Yeah.
Marriage is not 50-50 like everyone thinks. Next to God, my wife is the most important person in the relationship. Work on yourself, man. Take an inventory of yourself every day.
Yeah.
my spouse completes me. You're a person by yourself, and it's not your responsibility to keep your spouse happy.
Now, in your experience, what are some misconceptions people have about the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of marriage counseling?
So, number one, you do not have to be. In fact, I prefer that you come to me before you're in trouble. Okay.
Yeah.
I do go through a program which enriches marriages. Lori and I both trained in it. We've done one conference. We're supposed to do another one in Nebraska in February, where we walk through and we look at different aspects of relationship and we build on them.
I heard you say that.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I told Jesse, I said, that'll be something cool to have at our church.
It's cool to go through. It really is.
Now, did you design that, or are you just a part of a system?
Part of a system.
Okay.
As a pastor, so this is a cool thing. As a pastor, when I'm done doing the assessment, I never give names. Make sure you hear that. I never give names. But I can tell you how many people in your church or at this conference struggle with pornography, how many people struggle with. It breaks it down to the fact of how many men in this church will give in on a conversation to avoid a fight just by the questions.
Wow.
So that's one of them. The other one is that we can't go to this because what will people think?
Yeah.
In today's society, you air everything on Facebook, so why not just come see me?
Might as well.
You know,
you're going to put it out. It's going to get out one way or another.
Getting out there somewhere, or my spouse won't engage.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how many people want to go talk to someone.
Yeah.
And have a mediator, for lack of better words.
I've known several people that what you just said was a big part of their, either I want to, but he won't or she won't, or we're too far gone. It's pretty much just a waiting game now. And just pretty much not really trying.
It took us 2 years. I'm not kidding. It took us
to finally do it?
No.
Or to go through it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I swear the counselor we found, and I give her tons of credit. To be a therapist to have a therapist as a client is not one of the best things in the world, okay? I seen her on Monday, I think it was, and Lori seen her on Wednesday, and then we both seen her on Friday.
Okay. So split it up and then come to, do you ever do that?
Yeah. I do that. It was so rough for so long. I don't know how many times we took different vehicles to counseling.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
For couples counseling, because we knew by the end.
She said, yep.
Was that her?
Yeah, there she is. Yep.
Yeah. We knew by the end that we weren't going to be able to get along going home.
Yeah. That's tough. She said, yeah, we did individual and couples.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's tough. Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, we're not struggling in our marriage, but I know from experience that I can tell other people, preemptively go. If you feel like there's some issues, do it before everything explodes and messes up. But I know that I would be that person to be like, no, we'll be okay. We'll be fine. We just got to power through this season in our life, however you want to frame it up.
I'm going to challenge you in front of all of your people right here. I want to send you the assessment to do for you and Jesse.
Okay.
That'd
be cool.
I think.
We'll find out.
Make sure you talk to her first, okay?
Oh, okay.
And we probably want to wait a month before you do it, or 2.
Yeah, after she has the baby.
We don't want to do it right after the baby because the scores may be skewed.
There's no telling.
We've done it. Lori and I've taken it.
Yeah. And recent? How long has it been since you've done it?
About 6 months.
It's been that close?
8 months.
Recent?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you recommend doing it often? Or at least once a year or something like that to assess your marriage?
I wouldn't do it once a year, but you got to remember it goes and it comes, it goes and it comes.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can open something here real quick.
While you do that, I'm going to blow my nose. Bond that. Yeah, tell me what it's called too.
I'm struggling. I don't know why. So it's called Prepared and Enrich. Okay?
Prepared and Enrich?
Yep. And in order to do the assessment, you have to be a facilitator, and it has to be sent to you by a facilitator.
Okay, so you can't just get a hold of it.
You can't just get online and do it.
Somebody said they're interested in that assessment. We're working on 31 years of marriage this year.
So this is what it's going to tell you, all right? I had to open it so I can read them off right. It looks at different areas of your relationship, and they are, see, if I was young, I'd remember them. It evaluates your communication, your conflict resolution, partner style and habits, how well you get along with that way.
Yeah.
Financial management, leisure activities, sexual relationships, family and friends, roles and responsibilities, and then spiritual beliefs.
That's cool.
And it takes about a half hour to do.
So it has to be given by somebody who is licensed?
It has to be sent by somebody who's trained in it.
Okay.
So we order it. It's like $39 to take the assessment.
Okay.
So we order it, and we'll go from there.
So it's not something I could give to them?
No.
Okay, it has to be. So just so y'all know, one of y'all asked about it. It has to be given by the counselor. It can't be just passed around like a link to a website.
If you go on Prepare and Enrich, you can find people in your area that have been trained in it.
Okay. Prepared and Enriched?
Yeah.
Okay. Look that up and see if there's somebody local. So I guess you're local, but is that something you do too? Like
I do them, and it's us. Actually, it can also be used. We use it when we do pre-marriage counseling.
Yeah,
because it gives you the foundation when you go through. So that's the prepared part.
Speaking of pre-marriage counseling, is that something you recommend for every person? I know I do.
Yes,
but
I recommend it more than you know. That's one of the funnest things that we do. Lori and I do it together. That's one of the funnest things.
That's cool.
Because the eye-opening experiences. You ask, one of the questions we ask is, tell us about your birthday. How's it celebrated? Well, we usually have cake and ice cream, and, my mom gets us a present. So what about you? I don't have a birthday. You don't have a birthday? No, I have a birthday week.
I have a birthday month.
Presents every day. And the other guys, so it's like, I highly recommend marriage counseling.
Well, me and my wife, it's funny you said that. I think our first year of marriage, I turned 30, or maybe it was our second year. I still don't let her live this down, because in her parents' house when she grew up, they maybe would do a cake or something, and that was just kind of it. It wasn't a big thing. It wasn't a deal. It was kind of celebrated a little bit, and that was it. Well, me, like, we would have church people over. If my parents' birthday, like, they would do pranks on each other. There was either a lady in the church or my mom pranked my dad on a sponge cake that was an actual sponge with icing on it. So trying to cut into it, right. And so it was just kind of fun stuff where people got together. And then my 30th came around, that to me was a big deal. And she didn't really do anything. Matter of fact, my mom came down to help celebrate, and then pretty much got my old friends together from like my best friends in high school, invited them out. I think she paid for us all. We went to a hibachi grill where they cooked in front of you, stuff like that. And I was like kind of let down because my wife didn't put that together for me. But she didn't know that was an expectation. She had no clue.
When you hit the big four.
Oh, she better.
We'll remind you. We'll help on this, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that. We need some serious counseling.
That's right.
But it was one of those things that if we would have went in depth, kind of got to know each other, what was important to us. Now, granted, that may have not come up, but other things would have pointed in that direction, that I like to be celebrated, that I made it another year because so many years were stolen from my life.
It's funny you say that, because I don't know if my mother-in-law's listening to this or not. If you're, I'm sorry, Mom. When we first got married, I come from a family that spent tons of money at Christmas, went in debt.
Really?
Lori comes from a family that was very simple. Christmas was about God, Christmas, all of this, So we literally would get in the car and we'd drive, and about halfway to her mom's house, she'd say, oh yeah, by the way, you're getting a flannel shirt, 3 pairs of socks, and a belt for Christmas, because that way I wouldn't be shocked. And we went to my mom's house, it'd be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're getting a new gas grill, we're getting
I understand.
So it was just the difference,
Yeah.
And what I learned, though, through the process is to appreciate the little things.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny because when talk about Christmas, literally the same example. When we would go to my wife's, we would do like a draw names and rotate, give gifts. And you fill out a questionnaire every year and your favorite stuff. And so you give them like beef jerky, the little small things that kind of go together as one gift or something. And then we go to my parents' house and it's like, I got a new GoPro, the newest one, or yep. I got a drone one year, like a good drone. I shot $1 million, like over millions of dollars of houses with that thing. And so it's good enough quality to do something like that. And it was a big contrast of just her family and mine, which was the same. They're smaller key, low key people, don't really go nuts about stuff. My people's loud. We get instruments out. We all sing and play together, and we tear it up. And then it's just like night and day almost. But just stuff like that, like you don't know until that first time.
And if you cover that in marriage counseling, then you're prepared.
Yeah. Which makes life a lot easier when you know it's coming.
Makes life a lot easier.
Especially because in my mind, the first couple of years was a little bit of a letdown, because like the big gifts, my mom would get for us. And then we go over to hers and it's like, I got beef jerky or I got underwear.
That's because she didn't tell you on the way.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. But it's like that first, I'm like, to me, it was weird because my parents we would wake up. It was a Christmas morning thing. We would have pajamas on. We would make a to-do out of it.
Did they match?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Probably not. We didn't have the money to match. And now my mom, it's funny because when we were real young, they didn't have a whole lot of money. We would get like undershirts or socks and underwear, stuff like that. Now every year, kind of as a joke, but also I kept asking for them and she kept giving them. So now I pick out like certain socks I want, like underwear that I want, and undershirts. And she's like, your stuff keeps getting more expensive every year. But it's like I wear them out. Like I got to throw the old ones away or something. So I got to get them from somewhere. But it's kind of a running joke. But it's just, as you said, in the simple things, the small things, I know I'm getting it every year. Because I send her a list of stuff I want. Yeah. But it's kind of the small things. And then I would be disappointed if I didn't get socks and underwear. But it's just one of those things where it's a small thing, but one day it'll be missed.
It will be.
Yeah.
So,
but now now talking about what they did, now we do our own thing where Jesse wants to buy matching the plaid pants and stuff, and we get up and so now we have our own thing. It's kind of a combination of both.
Right.
We keep it simple. We have stockings with the smaller gifts, and then we do, a couple of small ones and then a bigger one. But her and I made a promise with each other, especially a year and a half, 2 years ago when we decided to really try to get out of debt. And now, except for our home that we decided that we're never going to go into debt for Christmas.
That's the other thing that we cover in marriage counseling is budgeting and finances. My wife is Dave Ramsey's all the way. What I call it, Dang Ramsey's financial persecution. So, that was the other area that we had to learn.
Yeah.
We had to learn the fact that I got to say right now, I was a rotten father and husband when we first met.
Yeah.
Because I'd say things like, where's my money?
That was me in my first marriage.
Where's my money? We had 5 kids. She stayed at home. We couldn't afford daycare.
Yeah.
So, of course, she didn't work. And as soon as I figured out that she actually, sounds bad, I figured out that she knows how to budget a lot better than I do.
Yeah.
And gave that up. It made life a lot easier.
Yeah.
But we had no marriage counseling. In fact, I don't know if you knew this or not. I got married the same day I got divorced.
I think you did tell me that.
So that shows you how deep our relationship was.
Yeah.
So,
but hey,
yeah.
Made it.
I made it.
Well, the same thing with us. Like I said earlier, she's the saver and I'm the spender. Well, when we got married, I just went about a year or so doing odd jobs fresh out of jail. Like $10 an hour, not making much money at all. Not having my own place, not having my own vehicle because I had to sell it to get out of jail to the bail bondsman. And so when we got married, I had a job, I think solid, maybe 2 months. And she said, yeah, she wouldn't say yes until I had a full-time job. So I got one and then I locked her down. And we didn't really go through any marriage counseling either. And so when we get married, I'm killing myself with this job. Like I'm loving it, but I'm working sometimes 80, 90 hours a week. And I'm talking about hard labor. And I come in and my new wife is wanting to be all intimate. And I'm so exhausted that I don't want to do anything. I just want to be still on the couch. And so that was a conflict in our marriage. And then when it would come to spending the money, I didn't, because I was killing myself and I was working the real job and she was in an office. She was still making more than me.
Right.
But I was killing myself. And so I felt like the money was the rights to the money belonged to me almost. I mean, that's not what I said or really how I felt, but it was how I acted. It's how I acted. It was like, if I wanted something off Amazon, I'm going to order it. I didn't have to ask her. I'll make the money. Or I didn't, but I made my money, so it's my half. And of course, the first marriage, I was very selfish in that. Like I had an idea of what I thought a wife was supposed to be like, and she wasn't supposed to step outside of that. So I had impossible standards on my first wife that wasn't fair to her, and it also wasn't fair to me, because then I was never happy because my impossible standards were never met.
Right.
And then hers were never met because I was supposed to be like her dad, which is a common thing. I was supposed to be like her dad, have a regular job, a good paying job, and be there for 50 years. And that wasn't who I was. And so it was a constant all the time until I don't know what it was. I guess because I started listening to Dave Ramsey's podcast. Like I found his podcast and I actually listened to it because I got a lot of road time going back and forth to different jobs, doing photography and stuff. And I'm like, listen, obviously this guy knows what he's talking about. All these people, I'm hearing their debt-free screams and stuff. And I'm like, I talked my wife into getting me a brand new truck out of 2020, fresh off the lot, Colorado. I loved it. It was my first truck. Took pictures with it and everything. My wife was so happy. But then I realized something was off with her too. She wasn't happy at the same time. That was my second new car since we had been married. And she still had an '09 Honda Civic.
The one that she still drives?
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, if I'm going to be the man of the house and say, let's do something, I'm going to do it with all my heart. So I said, listen, do I have your permission to get rid of this truck, downgrade in car, and try to get the same amount of money it would take to pay off the rest of our credit cards? She was like, no, you don't have to. She immediately, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. I was upset at first, but I'm not now. And this is like after a year and a half or so we had it. But I decided that my family's future was worth more to me than a truck or my pride.
Right.
Because that's not the best car in the world, but I mean, it runs. It gets me from point A to, there's no issues with it.
Minivan?
Yeah, that's what she said. That's why she hates it. She's like, it looks like a van. I said, no, it doesn't. It's an SUV. And so they wrote me a $7,000 check, and I came home that night, and we paid off the last of our credit cards. And I hadn't looked back. Yeah, sometimes I pull up next to those nice trucks, the jacked up a little bit, the tinted windows,
But that's what we're called to do in marriage, is to sacrifice our own stuff for everything.
She has, I feel, she probably doesn't pick up on this, but I feel she's never loved me more because I actually did sacrifice for the family. I stopped buying so much on Amazon. Now the stuff I buy is only if it makes me money in my company, and it only comes out of the company's account. I never touch our money for anything. Matter of fact, while she's been pregnant, I've been putting several $100s a week into our savings account so that we'll have a hefty savings account when that baby's born. And because I'm sacrificing for her, it has skyrocketed our intimacy life because I'm actually being the man I'm supposed to be. And it makes her honor me more, love me more, respect me more because she sees that I'm not doing things for me.
It goes back to what you said earlier, that, we like to praise, we like to have our belly rubbed. It's that
dog, you can't get off the dog thing.
It's that security thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this. You know I have a Harley. So do you know whose idea it was to buy that Harley?
Was it hers?
It was hers.
Really? I did not know
She
that.
asked me one day, she said, do you want a boat or you want a Harley? Well, we live in Texas. My wife ain't getting the water in Texas. Up north, which she would, because there weren't snakes and they weren't alligators. So
Yeah.
So I said, if I get a boat, are you going to go swim? No.
Is that why y'all didn't come to... Oh, wait, no, you did come to the lake.
Yeah.
She didn't get in the water. That's what it was. She didn't get in the water.
So I went out and we got a Harley.
The first time we went through Financial Peace, we had to have our pastor do mediation because a budget was a huge fight.
It was.
Said Christmas was one of our biggest fights.
Yeah.
Now, was it... So it was you that wanted to go into debt for it? Or you just want to spend all the money?
She's going to tell on me anyway. You know what? I think Jack's crying right now. So
go take care of the baby.
We'd go shopping.
Yeah.
And she has, she's Dave Ramsey, so she has so much set aside for each kid.
Oh, yeah.
We learn real quick. Are you ready? Fair is not equal, and equals isn't fair. Okay? So if everyone gets $50, that's fair. But I might be able to buy one of my kids a whole lot more presents because they want little things, so it's not equal.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's what she meant by that.
Like Tristan would think his best present was the biggest box.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't always true. But then you get one present.
Yeah. So she'd go shopping. We'd go shopping. We'd get all these stuff wrapped. And then about a week before Christmas, I'd go shop. And I'd just swipe it.
Yeah. It's easy.
Because you know what my kids need to have?
Oh, yeah.
And I had 4 boys. So when you bought remote control cars, you bought 5. Because I had to be able to play with them.
Well,
that's a good dad.
That's the right of the father.
You know, that's a good dad.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You got to check to make sure they work.
Yeah. So, yeah, Christmas was difficult. And I want to know, if I've made it through this, if we've made it through this, seriously, if you ever have time, our story is nothing but the grace of God.
Actually, I told her, I'm pretty sure you were standing there, but I got another mic set up and everything that one time we'll come on and y'all can share your story.
It's nothing but the grace of God that we're still married. So I did, in fact, sorry, Lori. I told her once in a counseling session that she was the dumbest woman I ever know because I would have divorced myself a long time.
Well, yeah. I mean,
truth hurts.
Yeah. So that's funny. What are some often issues that you see in marriages that often go overlooked, that maybe should be more magnified than they are, but they're oftentimes overlooked?
Inability to communicate effectively.
Now that right there is a big one in all kinds of areas.
To be able to be vulnerable in your communication, not to be defensive, and not own your partner's feelings. They're my feelings. You didn't cause them. You did it. It's mine. And the other one is this. Let's see if I can do this. I'm a crybaby at times. The negative effect that pornography has on a marriage before the marriage has even happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, back when I was growing up, you had to be brave enough to walk into the bus stop and ask that old lady for a magazine.
Yeah, it was an actual paper
thing.
And you hide it under a mattress.
I lived in a town where my dad said, I want you to know if you pass gas, I'm going to know it before you do. And it was about that small. So you
really,
know, yeah,
that's funny.
But now it's everywhere.
Yeah,
and you bring that in I'm going to go there. Sexual sin is such a stronghold on a marriage.
Yeah,
that it destroys everything.
Yeah,
sex is the greatest thing God ever designed.
Amen.
But it's between two people.
Yeah,
you know. I had a pastor tell me once, we were at a pastor's convention. I used to be a pastor. I think I told you that. Mm-hmm. So we were at a pastor's convention once, and it's a big pastor, big name pastor. He said, you know what, pastors? You guys are not spending enough time in your bedroom. I don't care what you got to do. If you're going to hang a swing in that room, you hang a swing in that room. But you need to learn how to be intimate and have fun. Porn ruins that.
It's true.
So I think that's one of the biggest things coming into a marriage that goes overlooked.
So how often does that play a huge factor in the counseling that you've, probably more than anybody wants to admit?
More than anyone wants. And here's the thing. It's not just the guys.
Yeah. Which is weird.
It's more.
You always hear guys talking about they got an issue.
Yeah. It's more prevalent in women than what anyone would know.
Really? So now, say you got a couple in there, whether it's the husband or the wife or whatever, and that topic comes up, porn comes up. What do you do, or what tactics, or what ideas, or what literature, or podcasts? What do you give them to say, or to help them to be able to overcome that addiction or that draw even to that?
So there's a few things. Number one is you gotta give it to God.
Yeah.
You got to pray through it. You got to confess it. You got to throw it out there.
Which is a big, for even somebody to even say that they have the issue is a big deal.
So on top of that, if you're married and your spouse doesn't have every password that you have, you need to check yourself.
I remember the day, not the specific, like on the calendar, but I remember the moment that I told my wife, and it wasn't probably that I was having issues, but I don't know how anybody else deals with it or struggles with it or whatever, but I almost can feel like it's grabbing my shirt trying to lure me back in. Like if I go to my computer right now and I'm not logged into any of my accounts, but I go to YouTube, what pops up is everything with the big butt girl on there, and I'm not logged in, but it's trying to get me to watch that, and it knows, I guess, that I'm a guy. I don't know how it knows what to put on there, but I'm not even logged into anything to trace me. I'm just opening YouTube, and the page is there, and it's got all kinds of women on there.
So I write. How much stuff do you think pops up on my feed with Harleys? With Harley Davidsons? It's like,
that's, yeah.
You know,
Try to look at bikes, and
I spend more time hitting unfollow or delete or show less, whatever.
Yeah, not interested.
So if you give all the passwords, okay? If you can manage for your wife to be your accountability partner, that's great.
Yeah.
But the hard part about that is the fact that your wife's got to be able to hold you accountable without shaming you.
Yeah.
And if not, then and I forget what it is. There's a couple programs you can put on your phone.
Covenant Eyes.
Covenant Eyes is one of them that you can do. What helped me was my oldest son struggled. And I didn't confess I got caught because my wife was ripping my son a new one, and it wasn't him.
Oh, crap.
So he confessed, and then I had to confess because, and at that point we said, okay, we're accountability to each other. And he was probably 16 at the time, and he could walk up and say, Dad, give me your phone. Because the other rule we have is we don't erase browser history. When you got to erase browser history, then you're hiding something.
Yeah. That's a big one. Yeah, I gave all my, even the company, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, emails. I got 6 emails going right now. And I keep the password fairly kind of the same with a little bit of variation. And she knows all the variations. Mm-hmm. So, and too, because if I ever die, she knows that information too.
You're in marriage, you're one unit.
Yeah.
You know, so why are you hiding stuff?
Well, and I've got some friends that they have told me that they have that struggle, which most guys do because it's about sight. Like, we get turned on by what we see. If it looks good, it gets us going. And it doesn't have anything to do with who the woman is.
No.
At all. And one of my friends said that he cannot talk to his wife about it at all because she makes it about her. Like, it's like he doesn't want her, he doesn't desire her, or she's too heavy, too this, too that, not enough this, not enough that. And my wife doesn't do that. She's the best woman there is, but she's sorry. Nope.
So,
like for example, we were in Tyler. We were going to the mall. It was summertime. It was a few years ago. I'm driving. I'm turning left, and I feel this little hand on my shoulder. She was like, "I'm sorry, baby." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "That girl's over there with the butt cheeks hanging out of her shorts." I didn't even see it, and she was saying she was sorry because I struggle. I'll never forget that. Like, that's who she is.
So, 2 things. Number 1, I want you to look at it a different way. Sometimes when you're engaging in porn, and what you do when you engage in porn, is that a nice way to say it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's selfish.
Yeah.
Especially if you're married, because you don't want to take the time to engage in that with your wife, because you may have to, if you're really in a good relationship, sex is more about pleasing your partner than it is yourself.
Yeah. No, it should be.
So it should be, yeah. So it's selfish not to take the time to enjoy that with your wife the way it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, what I do is I tell Lori. We were in Walmart the other day, and there was a girl that was walking through there, and I was like, Lori, look at her. She's like, Lori, look, man. And she had those shorts on that, it's like you couldn't put nothing in the pocket because the pocket was cut out. And Lori was like, oh, man. You know, and then it was like, okay, let's turn down a different aisle. You know, because honestly, God made women the best gift in the world for a man. And of course, do you know what Satan did? He took and corrupted it.
Yeah.
So if you struggle, you got to be open.
Yeah.
You got to be open with, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that a girl is pretty or looks good. What's wrong is when it turns to a lustful desire or a gawk or something like that.
Yeah. I heard a guy say one time, he said, how to help yourself not lust. He said, first of all, the first look is free.
5 seconds.
Something catches your eye, you see it, something caught your eye. But when you linger or you stare or you let it penetrate your mind, he said, get that first look and bounce. And bounce right on.
I've got a friend that says if it's longer than 5 minutes, it's not a look anymore.
5 minutes. Oh,
5 seconds. No, 5 seconds. I'm sorry.
that boy's got some grace.
Yeah. It's longer than 5 seconds. It's not.
If it's longer than 15 minutes, you probably need it. Oh, that's good. That's good. So, somebody else, let's see if we got some let's see. First time we went through financial peace, but two broken people with major trauma, and we had to own our own junk and heal so we could fight for our marriage. That's important.
It is. And, on top of it, when you own your own junk, everyone comes in with baggage. And I always tell people, first thing you got to do is you got to unpack that suitcase. No matter what it looks like, you got to throw it out there and you got to own it. This is mine. But once it's out there and you own it, you got to approach it together. If you look at an argument or a fight, I know exactly what to say to win. I can win in about 3 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
But it's almost like a tug of war. We're trying to win, so we're pulling it towards us. We're trying to push the problem on them. What happens if we take the problem and we remove it from between us and put it on a shelf and approach it together? Because then you're looking for resolution. You're not trying to...
That's the key, resolution right there.
And there's even been times when I've told couples, write the problem down on a sticky note and put it on a glass in the middle of the table and look at it as you talk. Because then you're focused on the problem and not focused on who owns it.
Yeah. Kind of become a team looking at something instead.
When you're in a relationship, I told you I'm a combat vet, so I say had PTSD. People say don't go away, but grace of God, it's gone. But with that affected Lori.
Yeah.
So even though it was my diagnosis, it was our problem.
Yeah.
So let's throw that in between us and work on it together.
That's good. Yeah, when you constantly keep it in between you, you're always facing opposite each other. And that's good. I like that. So let's see. Another comment. Jeff and I had a long talk before we got married. We decided we weren't getting married to get divorced. This was it for both of us. My first, his second. Crockpot marriage, not a microwave marriage. It's good.
So remember, I'm going to steal this from my wife. You can either fight for your marriage or fight through a divorce.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a fight.
Yeah.
You just choose which one.
In divorce, I mean, there are custodial parents. I guess I would consider that winning, but there's no winners, especially if kids are involved.
And truly, are you ever divorced?
You're tied to that person for the rest
of your life.
Yep. So let's go on to technology and modern marriage. So has technology, well, we got a lot of AI right now. You solving problems with AI yet? Or
no, I'm old, so
old school.
Old school. So yeah, I don't do a lot of AI.
Has the technology affected the kinds of issues that you see from what, say, 15, 20 years ago to now?
People need to know what a digital footprint is. Number one. Of course, you got the porn. All right, that's a given. Every answer is going to end up with porn. Digital footprint. So how many times do young people take pictures or videos and send them to their significant other, and next thing you know, it's all over the internet? So you got that aspect. The other thing is, and I'm not going to say I'm for or against it, but how many people start the relationship online? Swipe left, swipe right.
I've heard a lot of that. Like even on what was a super popular World of Warcraft?
Okay.
I worked with the guy at Walmart. His wife played that game all the time, met somebody on there that she did not really know, and left him and moved to where he was at because of that game.
Yep. So it's...
Are you kidding?
It is so easy to have an emotional affair, which turns into a physical affair, which I think, technology is great. So let's flip it around. There's 2 apps that I love. Intimately, and I actually have them. I'm trying to find it here. Hold on here. Social media. By the time I find it, she's going to say what it is. It's Intimately Us and Just Between Us. Okay? They're actually challenges. One of them is an encrypted thing. You can flirt back and forth. Those are positive things with it.
Yeah.
So it depends how you look at technology. For the most part, if you use it for good, it's great.
Yeah.
Like anything else. But I've seen it affect relationships in such a negative aspect.
Yeah, my first marriage, one of the downfalls on my part was I had a YouTube channel, and I would record myself singing. I wasn't really saved then. Go to church like once every 6 months. And it got some traction. And so what happens when you get traction? You get tracked.
Mm-hmm.
And women talk to you, send you little messages and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting all this attention. What's going on? Stupid stuff. But that wouldn't have been available if it wasn't for the technology aspect of it. I think Facebook and Instagram, for one, it's kind of the soft porn of our everyday life. It's not graphic, but it's just enough to lure us in to make us want more, or to talk to somebody because of what they're posted on there. And that's, I went and kind of filtered through Instagram stuff, people that I knew, but was posting provocative whatever because they had a nice body and they weren't ashamed of it. I'd go and unfollow them. I said, I don't care. My relationship with that woman on that wall over there is more important to me, that my eyes stay only for her and that they don't wander off. Because, I mean, like even Jesus said, if you look upon a woman with lust, you've already committed adultery. Are you actually doing it? No. But if you allow that to take root in your heart and your mind,
it's going to build.
It will end up coming out somewhere along the way, and you'll leave a wake of bodies and a marriage that...
And that's the thing. All it takes is to be in a slump once when you get that,
yeah,
I love your music. You're so cute.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, nothing's meant to be there, but next thing you know, what's happening?
Yeah. And it's weird. So kind of, I know technology and modern marriage, but how many times have you counseled someone who has stepped outside of the marriage? Do they come to you at that point, or is that kind of already too far gone?
No, I've got a few of them that I still...
Is a lot of, besides the technology part of it, is a lot of stepping outside of the marriage have to do with proximity?
No.
No?
No.
Like, what I'm thinking in my head, like...
Geographically divorced?
Like someone who's...
in the military?
Someone who is friends with someone at work and they build a relationship.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I meant.
I thought you had proximity, like distance.
Oh, no. Like
an affair, I can't say never. An affair usually doesn't start with the intent of hooking up.
Right.
It usually starts with the intimacy, the communication, the things like that.
I've oftentimes seen people
evolve,
get in that predicament because someone gave them attention and was the ear or the shoulder that their spouse would not be to them anymore, because they stopped trying, because they quit trying to date their spouse. They quit trying to pretty themselves up to actually put forth an effort.
Stop pursuing.
Yeah.
And that's, think about it. When you wanted to date Jesse, I don't know enough of your story. You were like total pursuit.
Yeah. She ain't gonna tell me no. She still don't.
Yeah. It was like, what? You don't like my haircut? Give me 5 minutes. Pretty much like this.
And when I found out she didn't like my big beard because somebody accidentally cut it off, you can see it's never been back.
It's constant pursuit. And if people understand that, if Lori would walk by me and I didn't say something or slap something or touch something, she'd probably go, what's wrong? Did I do something wrong? Because I love my wife and everything about it, so I pursue her constantly.
Yeah.
People have heard, well, women are like crock pots and men are like gas. And no, dude, if you're pursuing your wife constantly,
you've been heating it up.
There's no warm-up period.
Yeah, you've been doing it the whole time, and that's the game.
I always say my best trick in the world is to sit there and flirt with her all day and tell her all this stuff that's going to happen, then fall asleep.
No, I mess with Jessie all the time because she's the one, which women are like this. They want to relax. They want to get in the mood, take a bath or a massage or whatever. But she's that person that it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm a morning person. I want to wake up. I'm fresh. I'm renewed. Let's go. And we have to really communicate and be intentional with our relationship.
You're going to have a baby pretty quick, so you're going to look at your schedule, and you're going to see Jesse written on your schedule, and you're going to say, what's this about? Just go home.
I've heard that. I've heard putting it on the calendar helps stay regular.
Yes.
Oh, man, it's going to be fun. But, okay, do you use technology? Now, you just technological tools. What was those apps one more time?
Just between us.
Just between us.
And intimately us.
Intimately us. And that's for?
this for marriage things.
Marriage stuff?
And you can set it how frisky you want it to be. Okay, they're both.
So it's like a playful app
they're
type
both
deal?
Christian apps. They are, but one of them is like, do you do something for your spouse every day? It gives you what you should do. The other one is a chat thing back and forth. It's an encrypted chat.
Okay.
So it's things like that.
Okay. That's cool.
And then podcasts. Honestly,
now you do some online counseling, right?
I do a lot of online counseling.
So you're not conflicted between online or in person.
I'd rather
stuff
in person.
In person,
because then you can see everything. But honestly, if I can get you to engage online,
whatever,
I'll do on.
Yeah. So
I can't tell you the other side of online. I have stopped seeing people because one person's engaged and the other one's just sort of laying back and not doing. It's like, what? We're not getting anywhere. We're done.
Yeah, you gotta have both.
Gotta have both.
So, how do you address the tension between individual needs and the collective needs of the marriage? You said earlier you kind of do one and the other, and then both.
If I have to, I will. But honestly, in a marriage, there is no individual need.
Yeah,
it's always a collective need by the end of it. Now, you may have individual things that you struggle with.
Yeah,
but you bring them to the marriage. So let's put them out on the table. Like I said, put it on a Post-it and put it in front of you and attack it together. I will pull them. Like I said, I will separate them every once in a while. I had one couple I couldn't get 3 minutes before it. Really? So it's like, all right, we need to separate this, and I want to teach you how to communicate. I'm going to teach her how to communicate separately, and then we're going to come back together. And we came back together, and I was like, okay, I think we're ready. And we made it a session and a half, and I went, no, this is too early. Let's go back. Things like that.
Yeah.
So
just kind of a need-to-need basis. It kind of
it's as you need.
Just like your techniques, just kind of whatever fits the need.
So, but it's a hard concept to understand, is that everything you do affects your relationship.
Yeah. Intimately us and just between us. Oh, that's the apps, I think.
Yep.
Okay. Intimately us and just between us. So in what ways, well, you kind of addressed that. I was going to ask that, do you think individual therapy complements the marriage counseling?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's just a need or kind of as it comes. If they
believe me, there was so much. If you got a lot of trauma in your life, you need to unpack it.
Yeah. So like if something was from someone's past trauma that didn't necessarily, it was affecting the marriage, but was not a marriage issue, you probably would separate them and work through that trauma first, and then bring marriage into it.
So we'll take a rape victim.
Yeah.
That's going to affect the intimacy in a relationship. So you need to pull her apart, pull her aside, and work on that separately.
Yeah.
With me and PTSD, Lori knows a lot of my trauma, but she doesn't need to know the gory part of my trauma.
Right.
So that's what I worked on individually. And then you brought it together with, okay, how does this affect us together?
Gotcha. Yeah. So how do cultural beliefs and societal norms impact the success of marriage counseling? I think sometimes society has a lot more impact than it should.
It does.
On our lives.
You know what? Divorce is easier than marriage today.
Which is sad.
It is. I've actually heard people say, yeah, this will work, I think, for the first one if it doesn't work out. You're walking in already failing.
Yeah.
The other thing is the instant gratification. So I'm going to go to marriage counseling, but if it's not fixed in 3 sessions, I'm out of here.
This ain't going to work.
Yeah.
That wasn't really a commitment anyways.
No. We want something instant.
Yeah.
I mean, look at McDonald's. You sit at McDonald's longer than 5 minutes, you get upset. This is fast food. I want those imitation chicken nuggets,
whatever it is.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. Instead of committing to what we have and building up on it, and society saying, hey, you know what? You can work through this. If you, I'm going to throw this out here. If you had an affair in your relationship and you're still working through it, to get to on the other side of that creates such a bond and a relationship that is like, I'm not saying go have an affair, guys, okay? But
just to clarify.
It just brings you to the next level.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things you got to work through: trust, you got to work through intimacy, you got to work through all of that. And especially if it's a guy that had the affair, because women naturally want to know everything that happened.
Yeah.
So you have to break down every wall that you have.
That's tough.
Through.
I wouldn't want to know.
No, men just want to hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the nicest way to say it.
Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
But culture and society says, you know what, don't worry. You did that, you're done.
So do you think that's the biggest thing from culture that messes with people's heads in marriage?
Yeah, is that
it's not a big deal. You can find somebody else, plenty of fish in the sea type attitude where there's no longevity, no long game.
Oh, well, let's wait for the next one to come along.
Yeah. My brother, I know he was joking, but he would always say, which they were all celebrities, so I know it was a joke, but just his mentality on it, which he's never been married. He said he had a list of the next 3 women he was going to divorce. Like, boy, you're stupid.
Yeah.
What's wrong? But that's almost real. Like,
it is.
People are like, But, like being intimate with somebody, you can't, the Bible tells us to break away from our parents and become one with somebody. So when we do that out of the confines of marriage and we're just hooking up, or we're going into a marriage with like, whatever, if it doesn't work out, it's fine. You're leaving a piece of your heart, a piece of who you are with somebody that you really didn't invest in.
It's a soul tie.
Absolutely.
And that is something that the more I look at it, it's like, okay, I got to learn about this.
Yeah.
But that's not something I can log on to counseling today and find a class on.
Right.
So, and when you say that, and the Bible says to become one, if you look at the physical act,
yeah,
you can't become any closer than the act.
Yeah.
You are one.
Yeah.
So when you do that outside of marriage, what does that do to you?
That's why we have so many people walking around not understanding why they feel so damaged and empty, because they've been emptying out something that should have been between just 2 people.
And you know what's worse than that? This just hit me because of some of the people I see. They call it a body count.
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
What's your body count? Well,
doesn't that sound morbid to you?
In my first thing when I was in the military, body count was completely different.
Yeah.
Chris Kyle, American Sniper.
Yeah.
His body count was complete. Why would you call it a body count?
Complete disregard for what it actually is.
So then when you're married,
intimacy.
When you get married, is your spouse part of your body count?
I guess so.
What?
Right now, you ever heard of the red pill community? You know what that is?
No.
So I'm gonna do a live stream about it, but like it's a full on dudes teaching young men that don't have father figures in their life to rack up the highest body count that they can so that they can know what they want in a woman when they decide to get married. And these are people who are claiming like conservative ethics. How in the world has that become normal? Or like you're teaching young men that it's admirable to make money, which the things they preach is, and I say preach like they're pastors, but I mean, they're million subscribers on YouTube, to go to the gym, take care of your body, to make a lot of money so that you can be a high value man so that you will attract the woman you want, and give most of your attention to your weekend women. And if they won't be your weekend woman, don't give them the attention. Like, what kind of... And it's called red pill community.
So now look at the flip side of that. Look at the trail they're leaving behind.
Yeah.
Who's going to work with all of those women, or their girls?
Yeah.
Okay, they're not women yet. All those girls, to show them that they have value in life.
Yeah.
And that they deserve to be better than somebody's piece of meat.
And they're not thinking about, like, I'm about to have a little girl. Mm-hmm. If somebody called my little girl one of their body counts, they would end up in a body bag.
Yeah.
Because that's not how I roll. Which as far as I can control, my little girl will know that she is valuable and above that. But I mean, that's our culture teaching these young girls that that's all they are is a body count.
Yep.
And that the young men to conquer it.
Some of the girls have a higher body count than some of the guys.
Yeah.
It's like, really, what is left?
And nothing. And then they try to get married, and they wonder why then it ends up in divorce, because there's no value on actual commitment anymore. It's all about what can I get. And commitment is not, like we started this whole thing out with, it's not about what I can get, it's what I can do for the other person. Yeah. So that was, let's see. Oh, amen to that. Amen to that. Oh, no, the comments might be delayed, but I haven't been looking up to read them like as soon as they happen. Normally I have a little noise that pops off, but
no dinger.
Yeah, I didn't put it on today. So let's see. We'll go on to the self-improvement part. So what are some exercises or habits that couples can adopt to improve their relationships?
2 rules. Okay, we always add after this. Okay, 2 rules. Number 1, 30 minutes of conversation a night, real conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, sit down, look at each other, and have a conversation. Talk about your dreams. Don't talk about work. Don't talk about the weather, and don't talk about kids. Talk about your dreams, your aspirations, things like that.
Yeah.
If you can, journal it. 30 minutes a night. You got to keep communicating somehow. Okay. The other rule is no fighting in the bedroom. Do you know how many people start a fight when they go to bed? No fighting in the bedroom. I don't know if you heard this. Bedrooms are made for 2 things: sleeping and sex. So those are my 2 rules that first session I always implement.
It's pretty good. I don't know if we've ever fought in the bedroom.
So then the second thing is this: 3 rules that I try to live by. Okay. Number 1, I don't love my spouse. Love is a passive word. I'm in love with my spouse. Because when I'm in love with my spouse, I constantly pursue her.
It's good.
Okay. I will pursue Lori as long as I'm in love with her. I love Mexican food, but I don't pursue it.
I don't pursue it.
Don't pray for your spouse. Go ahead, Pastor Stephen. Give me the yoke. Pray over your spouse.
I like that.
Okay. There's many promises in the Bible about marriage and about people. Pray those promises over your spouse.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, and I'm going to get another word, look, cheat for your marriage. Don't cheat in your marriage or on your marriage. Cheat for your marriage.
Didn't you say go have an affair earlier? What did you say?
Yeah, go affair. Now I'm saying cheat on your marriage. Cheat for your marriage. Figure out what your spouse's love language is and cheat to make sure you achieve that every day. Take that shortcut. For me, like I said, I had to program my phone for the text message.
Yeah.
The other thing I had to do is my wife's love language is physical touch.
Yeah.
She loves to be cuddled. So for a while, I set my alarm 15 minutes before hers so that when she woke up, I was cuddling with her. That's what I mean by cheat.
That's awesome. That's definitely cheating.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times our spouse's love languages don't come natural to us. You ever, next time you buy Jesse a card, I want you to think of this.
I don't do cards, but go ahead.
Don't buy a card that you like.
Yeah.
We are so good at that. We buy a card we like.
That's how we do our love languages.
I like this card. I'm going to buy from it. Buy one they like.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sarcastic. Lori had to learn how to do this. Lori buys me some of the funniest cards there are in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we do our love language like that too. So my love language is intimate touch. So I'm going to hang all over Bill. No, get away from me.
Yeah.
All right. That's not my love language.
Yeah. I had a friend and he was talking about him and his wife having some issues and kind of them being on different pages. And so I asked kind of how that looked and, love languages, that's kind of a starting point in a marriage to kind of get on the same page is being able to speak each other's language. Not they speak yours, but you speak theirs. And he kind of told me what he thought hers was and what his was. And I said, well, how do you give gifts? How do you show her that you love her? And so his first response or first reaction was to do what he liked, but that doesn't translate. That's what we often do. What we like, we'll put on somebody else and it becomes a selfish thing or a misunderstanding when we should be doing what they like, not what we like, because we're trying to speak their language, not them speak ours. And so we need to be able to, if she's touch and feely and I'm gifts, which I am, I'm gifts, 100%. Me giving her a gift, I'll think I'm doing something. And she's like, this is dumb. I've done it several times.
Even if one of Lori's is quality time too. So quality time is not getting on my motorcycle and going for a ride.
Come on, yes it is.
My wife does not like to ride the motorcycle, so
especially at night.
Especially at night. Those are the things we got to look at. The other one is this: we talk about love language. How about language of apology? What is an apology in your book? Is it I'm sorry? Hey babe, I'm sorry. Some people that's okay. Some people it's like, hey, you know what? I'm truly sorry for acting like this, and this is what I'm going to do to remedy it. Some people it involves a gift.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what your spouse expects for an apology, because otherwise you're just throwing out blankets.
Well, one of the things that, like if her and I get into it, so one of her, probably two, is quality time and touch. Like she always likes to be touching, and then she wants to be around me, which is good, but it's very good for our marriage. But if we get in an argument or things are heated or one of us has an attitude, whether it was me or whether it was her who started it, and then now we're both in attitude, I will eventually, I try to implement two things. One, an apology, and two, I try to hold it when I say it.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there heals whatever happened instantly. And then we're immediately, both of us will talk like nothing ever happened, because when I tell her I'm sorry, I'm holding her and I really mean it.
That's the security aspect. That physical touch holding her is a security that I'm not going to let you go.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I'm a relationship genius is what he's trying to say.
You are. I'm just trying to figure out what you're arguing about, because aren't you a pastor? We don't argue as pastors.
Well, we have spiritual disagreements.
Okay. Right. Spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah. So have you noticed, oh no, sorry, wrong one. Do you have, are you a reader, an avid reader?
I love to travel, because when we go up north, we listen to books on tape.
Yeah. So what would be some, in this category of relationship, what would be some that you would recommend?
Marriage on the Rock. Jimmy Evans wrote that.
Okay.
That's a pretty good book. It actually teaches young couples how to break away from their spouse. I'm sorry. I told Lori my words weren't going good today. To break away from their parents.
Okay.
Because, everyone goes back to, well, we got to honor our parents. You can honor your parents all you want, but they don't have to be in your business.
Yeah.
Okay. Side note on that, I say if you get married, you want to live close enough that mom and dad can visit, but far enough away they need to call, because it's a long drive home when you don't answer the door. And the other one is, and I just listened to this the other couple months ago, The Great Sex Rescue. Sheila Gregory wrote that. And she also writes a book called, and we haven't listened to him yet, Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex and Good Boy's Guide to Great Sex. Christian author. It debunks a lot of the old stuff that is taught.
Like what? What would be an example of that?
Okay, so I'm going to get in trouble. Two books that I do not recommend anymore is Love and Respect. And
what is it? What was that one about? I mean, obviously the title, but
okay,
like, why do you not recommend this? What I mean,
and I'll tell you that.
Okay.
And the other one is The Praying Wife.
Praying Wife.
Okay, because both of them put so much responsibility on the wife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if your husband looks at porn, it's your fault, because you need to pray more. Okay, yes, just pray through it, or else if he's doing this, it's your fault, because you're not opening yourself up enough sexually.
That's that old school, like, well, if something's wrong, just pray harder and read the Bible more. Yes, that is good, but that doesn't solve everything.
Not so much. In Love and Respect, you have to respect your husband, and all he has to do is love you. I'll tell you what, my wife wants love, but she wants respect too.
Yeah.
And I've got papers on it at home that actually show where it is and the damage it does in relationships.
Yes.
So that's where you get the you must submit type stuff.
Gotcha.
So those are some of them. Then the other one, and here's my churchy answer. Are you ready?
Get it.
The Bible.
Yeah.
If you want to do something, and this was so life-changing for me, get a good study Bible and go to Ephesians 5:22 and 23 and chase that sucker all the way out, because it's going to make you feel like you've missed the mark so bad.
Are you gonna cite that scripture, or you may look it up? I will look it up. Let's look it up. Ephesians 1.
5:22 through 33. You should know it.
22.
Is you a pastor?
For wives, I skipped this one.
Yeah.
So 22. Well, now let's start. We'll go back to 21.
Okay.
And the title of this section is Spirit-Guided Relationships, Wives and Husbands. So 21, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21, it says, and further submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. So it's making Christ.
We always leave that part out.
Wait, Jesus has to be in it?
Yeah.
So submit out of reverence for Christ. Christ is number one. Christ is the center of it all. And then 22 says, for wives, this means submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Okay? For a husband is the head of his wife, as Christ is the head of the church. He is the Savior of his body, the church. As the church submits to Christ, so you wives should submit to your husbands in everything. Then go on to 25 for the husbands. Mm-hmm. For husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. He gave up his life for her to make her holy and clean, washed by the cleansing of God's word. He did this to present her to himself as a glorious church without spot or wrinkle or any other blemish. Instead, she will be holy and without fault. 28, let's go ahead. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as they love their own bodies. For a man who loves his wife actually shows love for himself. No one hates his own body, but feeds and cares. No one hates his own body, but feeds and cares for it, just as Christ cares for the church, and we are members of his body. So that puts a great weight and burden on the man.
Oh, especially if you start with a study Bible and you start chasing that back and chasing it back and chasing it back, and I've got all the papers at home, but when I did that, I was like, oh man. And that's why I always come back with, I'd much rather be a woman. It is like, man, I never imagined that God really wanted me to do all of this for my wife.
Yeah.
Because so many times we read the first part, we stop.
Oh yeah. We're good at that when we read the Bible.
Yeah.
We read the part we like.
Eat, drink, and be merry.
Boom. I could be an alcoholic.
You bet.
Let's party, guys. But let's see. Make sure I'm not missing any questions. Now, remember, guys, if you have any questions, you can post them in the comments and we will respond. We're getting close to the end, so if you got some questions, go ahead and get them ready. So now, personally, did you say all the books you recommended? Did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Personally, how do you handle, and we kind of touched on this earlier a little bit, how do you handle all of this, carrying this on your shoulders emotionally, but when you're unable to do the task that you were trying to do, when you're unable to do the job you feel?
I want a Harley.
You go for a ride?
Sometimes I take a long way home. Okay.
Yeah.
But honestly, this is what I learned real quick in life. I do not save a marriage. I do not save a person. I cannot take credit for any win that there is in life. Because if I take credit for a win, then I have to take responsibility for loss.
Mm.
That was so evident to me when I worked at the VA. I had people come in and say, oh man, if it wasn't for you, I'd be this, I'd be that. And I'd say, no, it's not it. First client that I had that committed suicide, if I took those wins, I had to take that loss. So I'm a vessel. That's seriously.
Yeah.
You're a vessel. You get up and you speak what God tells you to speak.
Yeah.
I'm a vessel. I believe God gave me gifts and gave me wisdom in this aspect. And all I can do is share it. And if it's a win, you guys did it and we're going to give glory to God.
Yeah.
If it's a loss, sorry. It hurts. Don't get me wrong. Every time there's a failed marriage or I hear about, like, dude, you missed it. What did you miss? If I see, and this is the other, if I see couples that come in, like for pre-marriage counseling, they're divorced, my first question is this: what role did you play in your last divorce? I don't care if that guy had an affair with 15 women and's got 30 kids on the side. What role did you play in it?
Yeah, that's important to know.
There's something you did or did not do. And the next one is how do you prevent that from happening again? You got to be aware of it.
Those two questions can change your life.
It can. Yeah, I can tell you the role I played in my divorce. Real simple.
Realize you actually had a part in it, and then what can you do different next time? If we could all ask that in multiple areas of our lives, imagine how much better our lives could be.
When I spoke in Nebraska, everyone was shocked. I tell people that two things I don't have regrets about because the outcome was great in my eyes. Number one, I wish I would have been a stronger Christian. I was saved when I was in high school, but when I was in the military, no.
Yeah.
Okay. But if I would have been a stronger Christian, I went to have my oldest son because he was conceived out of wedlock. He's a great kid.
Yeah.
The other one is I sometimes wonder if I could have fought harder for my first marriage. Now, believe me, I'm not trading Lori for anyone. Okay.
I understand that completely.
But you got to sit back and go, okay, what if?
Yeah. I've had those thoughts, kind of like, did I do everything I should have done? In hindsight, Probably not. No, I could have done things different, but I didn't.
But hindsight with me, my choices was not a stable foundation. I met a girl in a Muslim country, got pregnant in a Muslim country. What do? You get married in a Muslim country. I was her green card to come back to the States. There was no love there to begin with.
Yeah.
But I asked myself, okay, so what do I do now in my relationship to make sure that doesn't happen? And that's anything she wants.
Yeah. My first marriage was my boot camp in a lot of ways. And it was for me, and I told Jesse this because Jesse jokingly, she was in her mid-20s and I was in my late 20s. She's like, where were you at all those years? We could have had a different life, or not necessarily different, but had more of each other longer. And I told her, she used to ask a lot, like, why'd you take so long? She'd like grab my arm like she's mad, like like it's getting to her. Where were you at? Why didn't you find me sooner? I said, I wasn't ready for you yet. I had a lot of things in me that I needed to buff out before I got to her, to treat her and to be the man that she could respect, to be the man that would lift her and encourage her and be someone that was as close as God would allow to get to deserve her. Because other than that, it would have ended the same way. Because I was not the person I needed to be. I had to go through some serious fire to be purified.
See, my answer would have been, you were in grade school.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
But then again, we got Tristan and stuff, so she got her own little boot camp with parenting. Oh man. But yeah, I had to get some things out of the way before, because it would have, like you experienced with Lori, it would have been hell for both of us to go through that. And we wouldn't have been where we are now if we spent those first years trying to get through that. But instead, we got to actually enjoy each other for 2 or 3 years before Tristan came to live with us. So nobody's perfect, but I think our marriage is as close as you can get, because God put us together in the time he put us together, because that's when we were ready. And both of us in that moment, and this is important, if you're single out there, don't try, if you're not ready to be married, don't waste your time.
And don't go play.
Yeah, don't.
No, that's one of the biggest things that gets me anymore, is that I know couples that live together, have kids together, buy houses together, own cars together.
Yeah.
But they're not married.
Yep.
It's like, why are you playing?
Just pretending is all it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. And those same people will get mad at homosexuals for living together.
That's sin.
Yeah. Oh, that was the sin. That was the sin. What they do is not sin. That's just, anyways, I'm going to get off that topic because I'll keep going. So do you, I already kind of know this answer, but as you counsel couples, I know you have some very specific couples, how do you keep from, or do you even try to keep from, pushing your own personal values and beliefs on to the situation? How do you navigate around that, or how do you navigate, more importantly, through it to where you don't set aside what you believe, you don't bend to what you believe, but you also aren't pushing your beliefs on them? Like, what's the balance? How do you do that?
So, like I said, I'm in a unique position. I don't have to take every client I see.
Yeah.
So you think you get a consultation, but I get an interview. So I give a free consultation. Okay,
yeah.
You get 30 minutes with me for nothing. Decide if you like me, but really I'm deciding if I want to spend my time. And I let you know straight up front, it's on my stuff that I'm a Christian. And at the end, I believe, because a few things I'll tell people. I will never tell someone to get a divorce, because when I stand in front of God, I am not going to answer why people are divorced.
Yeah.
I will tell you need to set boundaries and be prepared for the consequences. That is one thing that I do constantly. You said I have unique couples. Are you ready for the thing to start scrolling? I am a Christian who sees homosexual couples for marriage counseling. And that is thanks to Pastor Steve.
He does blame me.
I processed this with you.
Yeah.
And it's because I may be the only Christian that they experience in their life that shows them love. So I'm planting a seed I may never see develop. It may not develop. I don't know.
And they continue to come to you because they trust.
Continue to come to me. And I never tell them, I never call their partner a spouse. I never say your husband or your wife or anything like that. And I'm open. I remember my first, I had a lesbian couple that have a kid, and they came to me and they said, yeah, and we have a kid. And I finally said, okay, hey, check it out. I'm a redneck from Montana. How do you have a kid? Did you adopt? And they went through the whole thing. I was like, at the end, I said, cool, thanks.
Oh, so they actually just like told you out of a place of joy.
They told me how they ordered the semen from someplace and then mixed it with one of their eggs, and then the other one carried it. And
so it actually was from both of them then.
It was, yeah.
Somehow.
I was like, okay. But the whole time we're talking with them, I shared with you the other day, I pray before I go into those sessions.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that spirit to come over. And I also pray for strength. And I deal with just things. And a lot of times these people are broken.
Yeah.
So if I can elevate you to a place where you're not as broken, hopefully you can see what you're doing and go the other way.
Yeah, that's a big one. And a lot of Christians will not get that close to those people to show them that light.
I told you, I said that when I started counseling, I was asked the two people I'd refer the fastest. One was a homosexual male, and the other one was anyone that was basically harmed a child.
Yeah.
My first two clients, one was a homosexual male, and the other one was a teenage kid that molested his sister. So it's like, okay.
Okay, Lord.
They always say, don't tell God what you're going to do because,
Yep. So we got a couple of questions. Oh, I think the Connect Couples Ministry said, hey, that is our Connect Couples scripture. She said, I knew Bill was smart.
I knew Bill was smart.
So we have a question. What is your recommendation for the best couples devotional books? Can you think of those off the top of your head?
This is what we've done, okay? It's not a devotional.
Talking about you and Lori?
Yeah, and Lori. And we tried to do it. I'm not really good at it. She's better at it than I am. Have you ever heard of the Passion Translation?
Yeah.
It is not a study Bible. It is not a...
No, it's not theologically sound.
It's not theologically sound, but it is probably the best passive reading of any Bible.
Reads more like a story kind of book.
It's instead of like, what's that show?
The Chosen.
Okay. We actually sit down, and you can use another version, sit down and read through it and just share what you think of what you're reading. I mean, there's, you got the fireproof stuff. You got all of that stuff.
Now, is Fireproof, is that a couples?
Fireproof is a couples thing.
I know it's a video, or it was
a movie, and it's.
Movie, and then I think there was a men's Bible study we did once based off of that one.
Yeah,
but I didn't know they had a couples thing too. That's good.
But that's the beginning of it. Constantly is going. There's you're a music guy. This is how we do it.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah, this is how we do it.
Montel Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, this is amazing. I think. We seen him at a couples retreat, and this is another thing, guys. Spend the money, go to a couples retreat. Go to the one in Dallas. Go to any of them. You get so much from it, and they're so fun. Montel Jordan became saved and runs a couples ministry now.
Really?
And actually has a devotional.
Really?
And when they open up, their first line when they open up is...
This is how we do it?
He starts singing it, and then he says, everything changed when my wife walked into a church and asked God if she should divorce me, and God told him no. And I want you to know that I had an affair on my wife. And she goes, a few times. So, yeah, I mean, so yeah,
wow.
They're out there. Get some of the newer ones. Don't be afraid to try something new.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, are there any trends or future challenges in marriage counseling that you are preparing for? Something in the future that maybe you see that could be an issue? I mean,
yeah, same-sex marriages.
Yeah.
Open relationships. Polyamorous relationships. All of those things are just stupid.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
I always try to choke things back. The stuff that goes on in people's bedrooms anymore, I think, is one of the biggest hindrance in a relationship. I'm sorry, I'm selfish. I'm not inviting someone else into my bedroom with my wife. There's no way in the world. There's not. Okay? I honestly believe, and this is my belief, so if you can find it different, please tell me, and I'll read the scripture on it. Sex was designed between two couples. As long as it's safe, consensual, where's the boundaries?
Yeah.
So you got to make sure nothing else is added, no porn, no another person, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what ruins it anymore, is that all this stuff's added. And you got to break down those barriers. You got to break down those walls. You got to break down the comparisons. You got to, all this stuff.
And I think a lot of that also leads back to the culture, leads back to the porn addiction, because they see things. They're like, I like what I'm seeing. I want to try it.
You know, I told someone once, sorry, Lori.
I told someone once, sorry, Lori.
Everyone wants to date the porn star, but nobody wants to marry him.
Facts. Yep.
So when you find that level of those 4 intimacies clicking all the time and the 5th one sitting there,
tries to come into a marriage, into the privacy of a bedroom, I think it's really kind of like an open marriage, somebody wanting consent on stepping outside of the marriage and feeling like, well, I guess if I include who I'm with, it's okay.
And how degrading is that to your spouse?
Yeah. Even if, and granted, if the other side of it is adventurous or whatever you want to call it too, and blah, 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 whether anybody's acknowledging it or not, it's doing damage.
Right.
If not now or today, it will be tomorrow or soon.
And guys, don't be, one of the things that causes a lot of that is mundane, routine, whatever you want to call it. And it's not just in the bedroom, it's in your marriage life.
Yeah.
You know, can you imagine coming home every night and having meatloaf and potatoes?
Even if you love meat,
even if you
love it.
Pretty quick, you hate meatloaf and potatoes. The other thing that we hid in our marriage is, I got to remind myself of this, and you'll understand when I say it, is the little things we think are so cute when we meet become annoying as you're married. My wife's love of animals was so cute. And that's why you've seen the video, right?
Yeah.
The turtles. I have to look at that video because every once in a while I got to remember that is what drew me to her, is that cuteness.
Yeah.
It becomes such a...
She was crying for those.
So I wasn't going to say that. I didn't say that, Lori. Okay. You know, so that's what we got to remember.
Yeah, like there was, now my wife doesn't do this, but there was a girl that I dated one time that she would ask questions all the time throughout the movie. And at the moment I thought it was cute. But now, if I ended up with her and she did that now, I would want to choke her. Because it would be so annoying.
So when we watch a movie...
Should she do that? She does, doesn't she? I'm not saying you're annoying.
Not only that, but we prefer to Google the ending so she knows how it ends.
Oh, no, Jesse does that.
Yeah.
Especially if we had to stop watching something, like we have a standard, and if it says GD, we cut the movie off. If we don't look it up beforehand to find out. So it will eat her up so bad, she has to know what happened. Like, it makes her mad that, because I watched it in the theater with some guy friends when Avengers Endgame came out, and it said GD in it. Well, I found that out because I watched it, and she knows, and that's the only one she hadn't seen. She's, eats her
There's
up.
an app that will remove that.
Yeah, VidAngel.
Yeah.
But I think the Marvel, they wouldn't let them do it on there. So that was, because we looked.
I've got a friend, Lori, text, you know who, and ask her.
Our mic is cutting out. Whose mic? Me, but the feed started to cut out, and I can't make out anything that is being said. My Wi-Fi is good.
I don't know.
Check. Can you still hear me? Let me check
I'll see. Lori, text us if it's good.
It is cutting out.
Okay, so you can hear it now, Lori. She said that she didn't hear anything we were talking about at the end when we were laughing. That might be good, actually.
Well, hopefully the audio is being recorded when we post it again. Yeah. It is cutting out right there. Hopefully it's working now. Well, if not,
No one's saying anything.
No one's.
I think that.
It never went out for Shayna.
I think that's when you were picking on Lori anyway.
Well, sounds like it's working. Anyways, so let's see. So if someone was thinking about doing this for a career, what would you give them? A run? Give them as advice?
No. Make sure you're secure in your own stuff.
That's good.
Make sure that you're secure. They're going to teach you in school. Make sure you know what you're sharing. Make sure you know what? People like real people.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm able to connect. Because I'll tell you I messed up, man. I'll tell you that, where we struggled and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I don't spill my guts to spill my guts.
Yeah.
The other thing is, to remember is you're not the fix-all. You're not the end-all to everything. And if you don't connect with somebody, kick them on. Send it to someone else that does. Everyone's like, you said it earlier, you know people that carry clients forever for job security.
Yeah.
I honestly think counseling is like a mortician. You're never going to run out of clients.
That's true.
That's true. You may have to market it a different way.
Yeah.
Or something. And that's what we're doing right now is figuring out how to market it more towards the marriage side than the other stuff.
Yeah.
But, that's the big one with it.
Yeah. So if you have any closing thoughts, let's say little free session right here for if anybody's struggling. Say you have a marriage couple right now and they're struggling. What would be, I kind of know probably what your answer would be, but what would be your advice to the struggling couple? Or say it's one person that feels like they're doing all the trying and the other side is not. Like, obviously you can't counsel them from 10 seconds of saying something, but what would you try to help them to navigate that situation to at least find better waters?
First thing you got to do, you got to open up about it. Okay. If you're the one that's trying and you keep getting walked on, you need to have absolutes. Okay. You need to have boundaries. We talk about boundaries all the time, but do you really know what they are?
Yeah.
Boundaries are something I need you to do, why I need you to do it, and what's going to happen if you don't do it. And you got to stick with them. You may not like the outcome, but you got to have your boundaries. You got to be able to be open. You got to be able to listen. We always want to say, so really tell me what's wrong. Be prepared.
Yeah.
Don't own it.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to call someone. Seriously, don't be afraid to call someone. I'm not dogging you when I say this. Pastors are a good resource, but they can only go so far.
Yeah.
So if you tried your pastor, you tried someone like that, call someone else. Don't be afraid to go out there. Don't air your laundry.
Yeah. Make sure it's somebody that you can trust, that will pray for you, be there for you, intercede for you.
And not spread it.
Yes.
I tell people all the time, my biggest thing with Facebook is this. Hey, would you hang your dirty underwear out on your clothesline in your backyard for everyone to see?
Yeah.
So why are you going to put it on Facebook?
And people do it all the time.
Yep.
They Facebook problems, but they never face them.
Yep. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. So I think that's it. That was our last question, wasn't it?
I think that's it.
Let me call you Dr. Bill.
Well, don't call me Dr. Bill because I can get in trouble for that.
Can you really?
Yes, I can. I had a friend that was actually turned in because she was promoted as a doctor and she wasn't a doctor. It's a violation of ethics.
You need one of them, was it complimentary? What is it?
Honorary doctor.
Honorary, yeah.
Yes.
Complimentary, they just hand them out when you walk in. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing. And remember that you can always email faithandfailures@gmail.com if you ever have any questions after an episode or you want to get in contact with him. He does do online counseling as well. I don't know if he's taking in more clients, but he'll give you an assessment. He'll see whether you're going to be his client or not.
We also do coaching.
And coaching.
So here's the deal. I can do counseling if you're in state. If you're out of state, we can do coaching.
Okay, cool.
Quality's the same.
There you go.
So, that's the big thing with it. So.
I know we have some people watching in Europe and Canada and stuff like that. So if you're not around, you can still, he does it on the computer with some of his clients. So coaching would be a good step in the right direction for sure. You take insurance.
Take insurance.
Now, do you only do insurance?
Oh, no.
Okay, I didn't know how that worked.
I do cash. I do the major insurances. I don't do Humana for some reason, and I work a lot to make sure that you get what you need to get.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, I believe you have to have skin in the game. So, and the other thing, we do the conferences. If you book us for a conference, we come in and we actually train. We'd come in and we train mentors to leave at your church that are trained and prepared and enriched. We do it's a day and a half, 2-day conference, do all the assessments, and then leave after we do the assessment. Or they're probably about a week and a half. That's the cool thing about doing it online. I can still do my other stuff online.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
once I repost this video with his consent, his information to get a hold of him and for the conferences and things like that too, his email and all that stuff to his business, I will have that down below in the description, or if you're on Facebook, down below in the little box. But once again, thank you so much for joining us today on another episode of Faith and Failures. Don't forget to like. It's free. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Also, we passed over 750 members in our private Facebook group. The Facebook group is more designed for more direct interaction and conversation, and not where that way if you have a question or a concern regarding the Bible or culture or whatever, you can post it there, you can ask it there. Also, normally there's a guy that's actually going to come to our church at the end of October. His name is Caleb. He's an evangelist. He posts a lot on there too. He helps me out with that. So feel free to always post, a comment, like, and share. And thank y'all for joining us again, and we will see you on the next one. God bless y'all.
Faith and Failures Podcast.